Okay, so Jaime, welcome to Project People Podcast. I'm so delighted that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for donating this space. Can you tell me a little bit about the space where we are?
We are right now at Espacio Amarillo, that it's a place in Delicias, in Calle Blancas de Navarra. And it's a place where you can go and record your podcast. This is a soundproof room.
Yeah.
Then there are events that are going to happen in the next months. And it's a place where you can do anything you want, like creative. That's Espacio Creativo.
Yeah.
So it has lots of possibilities.
Amazing. And I'm really grateful because this is the first time I've ever actually recorded in somewhere so professional. We've got the decoration and the plants and soundproof and the lights. So I'm really grateful. So Jaime's helping me with the recording today because he is an expert on many things. Knows so much about everything that's creative, much more than me. So thank you for agreeing to be on Project People. The way that we kind of reconnected is, of course, you were my student back in 2014.
Oh my God.
It's true, in Valles Bartera School.
Yeah.
But the way we connected is your mum sent me a message on Instagram saying one of your ex-students is doing a fashion show. And I'm like, okay, who is it? So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing, what your interests are and what you're working in at the moment.
Okay, so when I finished secondary school, I studied fashion and sewing and fashion.
Yeah.
It was vocational studies,
Yeah.
just grado medio. And then after that, I'm right now studying pattern making and fashion.
Wow.
And it's grado superior, so it's 2 years and 2 years.
Okay.
And I have also been doing some theater things, performing, acting, and I'm really interested in all those kind of things.
You've been doing theatre since you were a little girl, if I remember rightly.
Yeah,
You're very young.
I've been doing theater since I was 7.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
I remember. And how did you get into theatre? What was your first step into theatre?
I think the first thing, like the first contact, actually, it was your classes. Because in English classes, in literacy, we were always making a play.
Yeah.
Just little things, but that was the first thing. But also my mother used to go with us just to a lot of places. Like, there's this play for kids.
Yeah.
We should go. There's this other musical. You should go and see it. And I got interested. So when I was like 7 or 8, she told me, there's this place that they teach musical theater. The classes just started. Like, they were already in the school year.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, I can go and
You were
try.
quite brave, because did you go on your own or did you go with your sister?
No,
You've got an older sister.
I went on my own, just to try.
Yeah.
And I really loved it because, oops.
That's okay.
Because I went there, I think it was Thursdays afternoon. And I really loved it because I found a group of people that I could connect with.
Okay.
Even though we weren't friends or anything, but just we liked the same things. We were in a age range, not very big age range, but people loved the same things that I did.
And I was looking yesterday I've got videos of you, as you know, because back in the day, before the kind of rules about social media and everything, which is quite right, we used to video record your show and tells. And the show and tells, for people listening, is like an exposition that we get children to do in year 3 when they're 8 years old, to speak in English in front of a class about anything they want. And I was looking at your first show and tell. I've got 2. One is called My Doll Flor, and the second one was Trancas and Barrancas. But the thing that astounded me is that you didn't have a script. You had your presentation behind you. You were 8 years old, and you were talking with confidence to the class, looking at them, looking at all of the audience in absolutely brilliant English. I mean, your English is amazing now. I want to ask you about that a little bit later. But you had confidence when you were very little. And where do you think that comes from?
About the show and tells, I also wanted to thank you because I didn't have that much friends at school. I didn't socialize that much. But show and tells were an opportunity for me to talk about anything I wanted to talk and to people listen to me.
Yeah.
So it was like the opportunity for people to listen to me and to not laugh at me and all those kind of things. So I took the opportunity and I loved it.
That's amazing. I love to hear that because I always think that show and tell at the beginning for the kids is a little bit traumatizing, daunting. But I do see how they get confidence for that. You said that you didn't have many friends. That surprises me because you seem the most open and sociable person. Was that not always the case?
I try to be always open to people and always talk with anyone, but I didn't have that much luck, so people, I don't know if they didn't like me or just I didn't get the chance to talk to that much people. So I had some friends. Yes, I have friends, of course. But the social part, like having a group of friends and all those kind of things, I didn't have it.
Okay.
So I couldn't express myself the way I would want to and have that groups of friends and socialize like I wanted to.
Did that change when you went to the institute, the secondary school? Really?
It went worse. But when I was in secondary school, I had friends also.
Yeah.
But I remember that all my, like, the really good friends, they weren't from school or from high school, from primary school, from secondary school. They were always from this kind of acting classes or cinema courses and all those kind of things. So when I was in secondary school, I remember that I had a bit of a hard time.
Yeah.
Because there's when you're that age, the social factor is like really, really important.
Totally.
So if you don't have that group of friends, it's a bit more difficult. And then when I was in second year,
in the ESO, second year secondary school.
Second year of ESO, pandemic went.
Okay.
So all those friends like that I had, they went.
Okay, that's really tough.
Yeah, but I found other ways to make friends. I think that helped me.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though I couldn't have friends as I wanted to, that helped me because I made myself socialize with other people outside school.
Okay.
So people felt a bit weird that I didn't have that much of friends.
Yeah.
But then when I was outside school, I could go with, I don't know.
You found your people.
I found my people.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because I found in sobre todo above all in casas de juventud,
that's like youth centers,
youth centers. Actually, Vanessa, the owner of this place, she has been the owner of the Zona Joven, the youth place of my current place, like my current,
like a center where young people would meet up and do activities.
And I think that the Casas de Juventud are like really important to me because they made me have friends.
Okay.
And kind of socialize the way I wanted to have people that I share interests with.
Yes.
And all those
so
kind of
important.
things.
I mean, I can see it with some students that I teach that certainly in primary school don't fit the standard mold. Do you know what I mean? The standard. For example, boys who don't like football. Who don't go and play with the main group. You know, they're looking for their people. Sometimes they find it in the institute secondary school, and sometimes they find it outside. But I imagine it must be really tough not having your group
because
around you.
You see everyone has like their group of friends and they meet up after school. They go in the playground, they are with them. But I was like going with some groups trying to fit in, like, hello, it's me.
That's tough.
I'm here.
stuff. But I mean, now you come across as a person super confident. You do so many different things. So tell me, how did you get into fashion? What was your interest in fashion? Where did that start?
I think that fashion, that's like accidental because everything comes from performing.
Yeah.
So when I had a performance, like dance performance,
yeah,
or theater, my mother used to sew my clothes when it was something special.
So she knew how to make clothes?
Yeah, she knows how to make clothes, and she's really good at it.
Yeah.
But I saw her making clothes, and I was like really, really interested in how can I make this. But she only let me unpick seams.
That's good English, to know how to say unpick seams. How do you say that in Spanish? I wouldn't know.
Descoser?
It's amazing. I mean, I just have to stop for one moment because I'm blown away by your English. How have you got to this level without having lived in England? Because presumably you haven't spent any time.
I've spent 1 month at Ireland, at Cork.
Okay.
But it was like last year.
Yeah, amazing.
I think that the English is because I was really interested in English classes. Like, it was a fun place where I could do things. So I really got interested in that.
Yeah.
And then internet.
Oh, okay.
I used to watch videos and lots of videos in English, like lots of YouTubers, kids shows.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, more shows, and right now I think most of the content that I consume is in English.
Yes.
So that helps.
You're absolutely fluent, and it's really impressive. I'm sorry to go back to unpicking seams. So your mum let you unpick seams, but she didn't let you use the sewing machine?
No, it's not that she didn't let me, but I didn't ask for it.
Okay.
I was just like, oh my God, that's really cool. So when I was in 4th grade of ESO, I was in a musical from, we were making La Celestina.
Okay, wow.
In a musical. And I was like really, really interested in clothing. I was acting, and I was in the dance crew also.
Yeah.
But I was really interested in the clothing. So the director said, "Do you want to make all the clothes?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know how to do this, but maybe I can."
Yeah.
So I went crazy, and I started designing the 16th century clothes and everything.
God.
I didn't do them. Then I went crazy. I showed it to the director, and he said, maybe we can go with something more actual that we have at home. We can bring it. But that made me think about maybe I can study so I can know how to sew.
So how old were you then when you were at that point? You were still in the ESO?
15.
Okay.
Maybe 15.
So you decided you didn't do bachiller?
No, I didn't do bachiller.
Was that a difficult decision? Bachiller for English listeners is like A-levels, academic route to university, where you did more what we would call vocational studies, sewing. So what made you make that decision? You were clear that you wanted to do...
I was clear that I didn't want to do bachiller.
Yeah.
Not clear because I wanted to do performing arts bachiller.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to be 2 years because everyone talks bad about bachiller.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to be very stressed. Not for nothing, but if I have also this other option that I like and I want to learn, maybe I can take that opportunity. And also it was not that difficult decision because in 3rd of ESO, I failed maths.
Okay.
So for the ESO, I had to change my studies from the difficult maths to the easy maths. So in Valdespartera, that means that you have to change from bilingual to non-bilingual.
Okay.
So I lost the opportunity to make the B1 exam.
Yeah. Okay.
In Valdespartera.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when I was in vocational studies in Grado Medio, I went to a official language school and I did the C1 exam.
And you passed it.
I passed it.
Incredible. There's lots of English teachers that don't have the C1. Actually, I actually took the C2 last 2 years ago in English because I thought, I'll just do it just in case. And it was really, really tough.
They
Really
ask
tough.
really, really specific things. Like you have to learn specific vocabulary that you may know, but it's like you have to know it.
Yeah, and you have to have a certain cultural level to be able to answer, make a business report or answer or
it's
summarize.
not just the language, but
it's really tough. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, language learning. This is always my theory as a teacher. Isn't about knowing the rules and the grammar. It's about being able to communicate
and talk
and not be frightened of putting your foot in it. Haciendo un fallo. I do it all the time in
For
Spanish.
example, when I was in Ireland, I was 1 month sewing wedding dresses, and the owner of the shop was Polish, and the helper was Ukrainian, and my friend and I, we were Spanish. And the only Irish person, it was one helper.
Yeah.
So we were talking in our language, but when we had to communicate, we communicated in English.
Right.
So it was like a mix of accents and everything. It was really fun.
Well, your accent's amazing. It's a slightly English, a touch American. I think that's people that it's the same with my kids. If you grew up listening to videos and TV and film, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go back a little bit because, of course, when I met you originally in 2014, you weren't Jaime, you were Irene Gálvez. Okay,
yes.
And I remember you with your hair, and I think you had an eye patch at some
Yeah,
point when you were
I had
little.
an eye
Oh, poor you. But you were such a sweet, very a real good girl in class. Very academic. I would say you were an academic girl, or always did your work, but it was different. I remember you as Irene. So when did you first realize, you talked about finding your people outside of the institute, but when did you first realize that perhaps you identified as Jaime instead of Irene?
I think that unlike every experience is different, but some people say I knew it since I was little or anything.
Yeah.
But I think that I was so busy trying to find my people that I didn't find myself. So until I think first of ESO or something like that, I didn't start thinking of who am I. So when I was in first of ESO, I started thinking like, what am I? Is there something wrong? That there's nothing wrong, but when you start thinking, is there something wrong with me? I don't fit in what's my image. I don't kind of fit and agree of how I'm looking right now, how people treat me, like the pronouns and everything.
Yeah.
But it was a process of lots of years.
Did you suffer with that identity? I don't know if it's identity crisis is the right term, but were you at that time, was it causing you to suffer, to worry about it, or did you have someone that you could talk?
I came out for the first time in pandemic, when everyone was in lockdown. So that was, I started first, the first one that I said to was my sister. So she, at the first time, she understood and she was like, okay, that's cool. Like,
was it really difficult to tell her to sort of to verbalize what you were feeling?
Yeah, I think that it's really difficult to verbalize it to anyone. Yeah. At the first time, because it's like, I don't know how to say this, what's happening. So I said it first when my sister, and she was like okay with that. She was a bit confused at the first time, but she was like okay. And then I told some of my friends. Yeah. And they were totally okay with it. As this is a process, at the first time I was not really sure about it. So I was like, maybe I'm this, or maybe I'm this other thing. So it was like a process of thinking and coming out to people like, no, this I was wrong.
You didn't get any help outside your family? I mean, did you have people at high school that were going through something similar that you could talk about it, or is everybody different in that respect? There's
lots of experiences and processes and people, but in my case I talked to the owner of the Casa de Juventud of Valdespartera. So I talked to her about it, and she was like very, very supportive and tried to find other people that were like me.
Yeah.
And then in high school, not in high school, in institute, I said it like, if I started thinking about this in first of ESO, I said it like, this is me in fourth of ESO.
So you were like 3, nearly 4 years.
Yeah.
Until you actually came out fully publicly.
I haven't come out fully publicly like for other people, because it's like really hard to talk about it with some people and those kind of things. So I came out in Valdespartera in fourth of ESO.
Okay.
To my friends. In second, third of ESO.
Okay.
So it was like that pass of time where people my age talk to me as Jaime, but then teachers talk to me as Sirene, so it was like,
that's tough,
kind of weird, but I didn't said it. So
did you feel that you couldn't say it to the teachers?
It was like, I felt that if I said it, it would cause like lot of mess and bureaucracy and different kind of things. But in fourth of ESO, I was just like fed up. I said, I want to come out and change my papers, because I was graduating and I didn't want my name to be wrong. So I said it to my teacher, to my tutor, and he was like totally okay with, super supportive. But then I started telling the other teachers, and then I went to the school orientador.
Like the school psychologist.
And she was like, well, I can bring you to another person that's like you in high school. And we talked about it. And it was like that little support. It was not very long time, because then I went out.
Then you changed
schools
to do sewing and fashion. And so when you started in the new place, did you go in as Jaime directly?
I went in as Jaime, but I had to sign up as my ID name. So I signed up with my ID name, and then the first day, actually I called before, and I said, this happens, like this is my name, but this is not my name.
Gosh, you've had to be very brave. They're very difficult conversations to have. How has everybody been supportive in their reaction to you?
No. Like, for example, in my family, my mom was supportive. Not since the beginning, because she was a bit confused, but right now she's the most supportive in the world.
Amazing.
But my dad is not that supportive. So I came out to him like 5 years ago, and he still calls me the other name.
That's tough. Do you accept that as it is?
I shouldn't.
Okay.
But it's the way it is.
It's the way it is. You've got your mum on your side, though.
I got my mum, I got my sister.
I suppose, I imagine as a parent, parents need to process it as well, but it's really difficult, because at the end of the day you have to accept people as they are. That's tough. I was going to ask you about your family, how that was when you first came out, and what about grandparents? And
I told my grandparents, like my mother's parents, I think 2 years ago, and they took it like perfectly, like it's okay. So for that part, it's really good. Then my grandma, my dad's mother, I haven't told her, because that side of the family is like a bit more complicated to talk to. But I think that if I told her, she wouldn't have any problem. But I can't tell her. So
it's a lot to deal with for you to take that on, especially when you're going through the process yourself as well. And what about sort of paperwork and legal and names, that kind of thing? I suppose that's very important.
Because, for example, for working, when I started working experience like practicas, I didn't have my name changed. So you have to go and say, hey, this is my ID, but this is my name. Some people accept it, some people not. I had the luck that everyone has accepted it in the working side. But then this year I changed my name and my gender in the ID finally, and it was a nightmare because
Really?
bureaucratic nightmare because there's lots of paperwork to do. You have to go to the police, then say I want to do this. Go to the registro civil, then sign some papers. Say no, you have to wait 3 more months to see if you're sure.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And then after that 3 months, you have to go to another place to say, hey, I'm here. I signed this paper. I want to change it, and then wait more. And it's lots of waiting, lots of paperwork.
Yeah, but you were sure that's what you wanted to do. Yeah,
I was totally sure that I wanted to do that. I waited because there's a new law that came in like 1 year ago, 2 years ago maximum. So after and before that law, you had to be 2 years in hormones to change your name and your gender and pass some exams. Like, are you sure? Like psychological exams. But right now they've changed it. And before that, you had to get the authorization of your parents, both of your parents, if you were
under 18.
Under 18. So I couldn't. And after that, right now, if you're more than 16 years old, you can do it by yourself.
So you can actually go and make those decisions without your parental consent at 16. Okay.
So I was waiting like for cita previa. And waiting like 1 year. Because they didn't give me, like, I went to the website and they didn't have citas previas for 1 year.
The citas previas for English listeners are like a sort of social security health the consultation, I suppose.
Because right now you don't need to be in hormones to change your name and your gender in the ID. So I was like waiting for they accept my my solicitud.
My application
just to sign some papers and then wait another.
There's a lot of challenges. It's something apart from going through the process yourself of the kind of internal struggles that you've gone through, the emotional struggles perhaps with your family, then the bureaucratic struggles. It must make you a really strong person, or maybe you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. You want to be who you are, so you have to do it. But it's so impressive to me that you've gone through that and you've come out and you're doing what you want to do with your life.
It's like you have to do it because if you don't do it, you cannot be yourself and you cannot do anything. Like you will be struggling more
and so unhappy as well. And what about the kind of the journey of possibly hormones? I don't want to be, delve too deeply, but I'm just curious about that, how you view that. I suppose everybody's different.
Everybody's different, but I would want to hormone. But socially right now, I cannot because of my family. Because imagine I go one day to my grandpa's house and they're like, hey, here's my beard.
You see that your family's opinions really
in my family, social factors really important. I think it's not something that we talk about it.
Of course,
openly. So I don't know how they could take that. So I'm still waiting. I don't know, but if in the future I would like to.
You'll find your moment. You'll find the right time. I'm just so impressed with your bravery. I wanted to ask bravery, not bravity. English teacher. Terrible, see? I wanted to ask you what advice, imagine there's a person in the Institute First of ESO going through something like that. What advice would you give somebody if you came across somebody young, sort of 13, 14, with those same thoughts, feelings?
I think the best advice I could give to anyone is talk to people. Don't keep it to yourself. Because if you talk about it, maybe someone could help you or someone could know someone that could help you. So I think that's really important because if you keep it to yourself, it keeps going more and more and more deeply. Terrible. And maybe you go like...
It must be such a burden to carry that.
Such a burden.
When you talked about telling your sister, I could see you're like,
Yeah.
It must have been such a relief to tell the first person to get it out. Because when you hold something inside and you think nobody else understands, it's a terrible burden to carry. So what did you feel lighter after you spoke to the first person about it?
Because it's like, I'm not crazy. This is happening. I told to someone, and maybe this could be real. Like, this is not my imagination or that kind of things.
No, I'm any kind of secret that we hold, and we think we're the only one in the world that's going through, and of course that's not the case.
That's not the case.
What about there's a lot of kind of issues that have happened in the UK at the moment with laws, transgender laws, that really worry me about sort of access to different sports or toilets, changing rooms, those kind of things. How do you navigate that at the moment?
I think that's the same, because right now laws are getting like in our way, trying to stop us being ourselves, like living. And I think that's such a bummer, because I don't know, that's
what harm does it do anybody, to people to be themselves? It's tricky. Okay, so I want to ask you about your plans for the future, because you're doing pattern making. I see on your Instagram you're doing films, and yesterday you were doing a fashion exchange recycle, which is amazing. I hear in Espacio Yellow Space or Espacio Amarillo?
Espacio Amarillo.
So what are your upcoming plans for the future, work-wise?
Right now, I have to study my second year of pattern making, and that will be my last year. And then I don't know what to do, because, I know what to do, but there's lots of options. So maybe I will go and study realización de espectáculos, like these kind of things, recording, making live shows and audiovisual.
Okay, amazing.
That's 2 years also vocational studies.
You can do that in Zaragoza, or would you prefer to go somewhere else?
I would like to stay in Zaragoza, because I think that having things here, why should we go outside? It makes me sad that some things that I wanted to do, there's nothing in Zaragoza. And then another option that I have is studying fashion, but applied to performing arts in Lleida. That's 1 year.
Really? In Lleida they did that? Wow, that surprised me.
It's also vocational studies.
Sort of theatrical costume.
Theatrical costume, and for TV and cinema.
Oh.
And there's 2 years of that course, but I can do it in 1 year because I passed the first year with my pattern making studies. That could be a really good option. And the other option I have is studying theater here in Zaragoza or anywhere, but it's really expensive. Here in Zaragoza,
it's not a state funded.
Here in Zaragoza you have the Escuela Municipal de Teatro, but there's no official diploma. So it's like studying 3 years for learning, but for nothing really. So I should go outside Zaragoza to study that. It's been really sad.
It's really difficult because not everybody has the opportunity. I'll go to Madrid, I'll go to Barcelona. How are you going to pay for it when you're there? The rent is, That was one advantage we had in the UK when I was a student, is that everybody had a grant or a loan. So you were automatically independent from your parents age 18. You could do what you wanted because you took on that student loan, and then you could pay it back gradually when you go have your first job. But I see here that so many students are quite restricted because you depend on your parents, willing to pay it or whether they can or not pay it.
That's it.
Well,
right now,
you've got so many possibilities.
Yeah, lots. Right now I'm trying to save up money, like in becas. Because if I study another vocational studies, they don't give me more becas. For working. I've done practicas, like apart from the Erasmus that was 1 month. All my working experience was in TV and cinema. Not cinema, one thing. Just one thing. Or performing, like sewing things or costume design, like helping. So anything that I can do that's related with that, I wanted to do it.
Yeah. Well, amazing. I mean, I just remembering you, AJ, talking about your doll, and I'm going to put the link on the podcast for that show and tell, because I think our listeners have to see quite where you started, AJ, talking about this is my doll.
This is my doll.
Flawed. And where you come to now, I'm so proud of your journey, and it's so lovely for me as a teacher to see how people develop and change, and you've come a long way and you're doing amazing things and so creative. So congratulations to you, Jaime. Thank you so much for sharing your story with Project People. I think your story hopefully is going to help a lot of people, perhaps who go through something similar or people that are interested in the arts. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay.